Single dad rescues CEO's daughter, then learns her shocking secret. The mall buzzed with weekend shoppers, the air filled with the scent of popcorn, perfume, and new clothes. Children tugged their parents toward toy displays, while teenagers huddled in laughter near food courts. Liam moved quietly through the crowd, his calloused hands holding a small stuffed teddy bear wrapped in pink ribbon. He smiled, thinking about his daughter Emma, who'd be turning 7 that evening. Money had been tight this month, but he made sure she got something she'd love. Passing a fountain near the food court, he felt a sudden pull in his chest. A sharp sound sliced through the noise. A child's cry. It wasn't just any cry. It was panicked, broken, full of fear. Liam paused, ears searching, heart racing. He turned toward the escalators and saw a small girl, maybe 6, standing alone. Her cheeks were streaked with tears, lips trembling. She wore a white designer dress, far too fancy for an average shopping trip. A delicate diamond bracelet clung to her wrist like it didn't belong on someone so young. No one else seemed to notice her. People walked by, caught up in their own world. Liam didn't hesitate. He stepped toward her slowly, careful not to startle her. He knelt beside her, voice low and kind. "Hey, sweetheart, are you okay? Are you lost?" She looked up, eyes wide and wet. I can't find my daddy," she sniffled. Liam's heart ached. She reminded him of Emma. Fragile, scared, needing someone. "It's all right," he said softly, offering his hand. "I'll help you. I promise." The girl didn't take his hand, but she didn't run either. That was enough. He scanned the area. No frantic parent in sight. "Do you remember where you last saw him?" She shook her head, curls bouncing slightly. "He was on a call, and I looked at the toys. Then he was gone." Liam nodded, reaching into his pocket to call mall security. As the girl clung to his sleeve, he moved her out of the way of foot traffic. She sat beside him near a potted plant, still sniffling. He offered her the teddy bear meant for Emma. "Here, you can hold this for now, just until your dad comes back." She hugged the toy tightly, her breathing finally starting to slow. People kept walking past, most not noticing the moment unfolding beside them. 15 minutes passed, then 20, still no sign of her father. Mall security finally arrived, speaking into their radios. The girl whispered her name. "Lily." "Okay, Lily," Liam said. "They'll help us find your dad, all right?" Lily nodded and leaned into his side. He wrapped a protective arm around her, shielding her from curious stares. Then came the sudden presence of black suits. 2 men in earpieces and sunglasses pushed through the crowd. Behind them strode a tall man in a charcoal blazer, jaw clenched, phone in hand. His hair was perfectly styled, his watch gleaming. People gasped and whispered his name. Alexander Ward, tech tycoon, billionaire CEO. He rushed toward Lily, dropping to one knee. "Lily, oh my God, are you okay?" She nodded, still holding the teddy bear. Alexander scooped her up without acknowledging Liam. No handshake, no thanks, not even eye contact. He turned to leave, barking orders to his security. Liam stood silently, watching them go, a strange ache rising in his chest. But then Lily leaned toward her father's ear and whispered something. Alexander stopped. His feet froze mid-step, his back straightened, his head tilted. He slowly turned to look back, this time directly at Liam. Their eyes locked, 2 worlds colliding in a single, silent second. And for the first time that day, Alexander looked unsure. Alexander's expression tightened as Lily's whisper echoed in his ears. He slowly lowered her from his arms, his gaze fixed on her face, as if trying to confirm whether he had heard her right. "What did you say, Lily?" he asked, his voice low but tense. The little girl clutched the teddy bear and looked back toward Liam, her eyes innocent but steady. "I want to stay with him," she said again, then added, "He feels like mommy." Those words cracked something in Alexander's composure. For a man known for controlling boardrooms and billion-dollar empires, he suddenly looked small, like a father, lost in a world he couldn't fix. His wife, Claire, had died 2 years ago in a tragic car accident, leaving a void neither wealth nor time could fill. Since then, Lily had withdrawn, avoiding strangers, barely speaking outside home, never calling anyone safe. And now, here she was, choosing a stranger over her own father. Alexander turned to Liam, a mix of confusion, guilt, and something softer beginning to show through his sharp features. For a long moment, both men stood facing one another, with Lily caught between them, not just physically, but emotionally. Alexander stepped forward, pride wrestling with vulnerability. "You saved my daughter," he said, extending a hand. "Please, allow me to repay you. Anything you need." Liam, still uncertain about this man in designer shoes and cold stares, looked at Lily, then back at Alexander. He shook his head. "You don't owe me anything. I just hope she's okay." His voice was quiet but firm, lacking bitterness or pride. That quiet refusal stirred something inside Alexander. Not many men would turn down a billionaire's favor, but this one just wanted Lily to be safe. For the first time in years, Alexander felt humility rise in his chest. "At least let me treat you and your daughter to dinner," he offered, voice softer now. Liam hesitated, glancing down at the teddy bear in Lily's arms, then nodded. "All right, for the girls." That evening, Alexander's driver arrived at Liam's modest apartment. Emma came running to the car in her birthday dress, holding the hand of her dad, smiling shyly. At the restaurant, private, warm, full of soft lighting, something unexpected unfolded. What began as an awkward dinner between two different worlds slowly turned into something else entirely. Emma and Lily clicked instantly, giggling over coloring books and milkshakes while the two fathers watched from across the table. Alexander noticed how gently Liam fixed Emma's dress when it slipped, how he listened when she spoke, how he encouraged her to try new foods with patient kindness. As the night progressed, conversation flowed. They spoke about fatherhood, loneliness, and what it meant to raise daughters without the love of their lives by their side. Alexander, guarded for so long, found himself sharing stories he hadn't even told his therapist. Liam listened, not to respond, but to understand. At one point, Lily got up from her seat, walked to Liam's side, and rested her head on his shoulder. No one told her to move. She simply did. Alexander watched in silence, a pang of both jealousy and admiration settling in his chest. Emma, too, seemed to find a sisterly spark in Lily, laughing, leaning close, sharing the teddy bear like they'd known each other forever. The walls between them all began to crumble. By dessert, the four of them were laughing like old friends, like people who had gone through something and come out still breathing. And for the first time in years, Alexander saw something in another man's eyes, a kind of fatherly love that didn't demand, didn't control, didn't impress. It simply existed, quiet, constant, pure. That night, as the valet brought their cars, Lily clung to Liam's leg. "Do we have to go, Daddy?" she asked Alexander softly. Alexander looked at Liam, then at the girls, then up at the stars. And in that small moment of stillness, something in him shifted. He didn't know what came next, but he knew one thing for sure. This night had changed something in all of them. The nights grew colder, and so did the space between the old pain and new connections. After that dinner, something quiet but steady began to blossom. Alexander started calling more often, not for business, but to invite Liam and Emma over for dinners, park outings, and quiet Sunday afternoons. The four of them shared board games, movie nights, and laughter that felt too natural for how quickly it all came together. Emma and Lily became nearly inseparable, and to everyone watching, it looked as though the two families had known each other for years. Liam, though, found himself more reflective with each visit. Something about Lily stirred a strange ache in him, an instinct deeper than kindness, a connection he couldn't explain. She laughed like someone he used to know. Her eyes held questions he felt he'd seen before. One rainy Thursday evening, they all sat in Alexander's living room, the fireplace flickering softly, thunder echoing in the distance. The girls played quietly with puzzle pieces on the carpet, their tiny voices weaving stories about princesses and rockets. Liam sipped coffee from a ceramic mug, eyes occasionally drifting toward Lily. She had fallen asleep beside Emma when she suddenly stirred, her voice barely a whisper. "Daddy told me Liam might be my real daddy." The room froze. Liam's hands went still, his breath catching in his throat. He looked down at her gently. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" Lily blinked sleepily, unaware of the weight of her words. "I heard him talking on the phone. He said Mommy had a secret, and he's doing a DNA test." Emma looked at Liam, confused. Liam's grip tightened slightly around the mug, his thoughts spiraling. He stood up slowly, as if his legs carried the heaviness of years gone by. His mind raced back to the past, back to her, Claire, the woman he once loved so deeply it hurt to breathe, the woman who had left without explanation, whose silence became a wound that never healed. She had vanished from his life one day, never returning a call, never sending a letter. He had searched, waited, hoped, and then he gave up. Now, this little girl, with her familiar eyes and thoughtful silences, had just spoken the unthinkable. Liam stepped out into the hallway to clear his head, his heart pounding in disbelief. Moments later, Alexander joined him, standing in silence beside him for a long time. The air between them was heavy, full of things unsaid. Finally, Alexander spoke, voice quieter than Liam had ever heard. Her name was Claire. Liam turned his head slowly. "I know," he said, almost choking on the words. "We were together, years ago." Alexander nodded, rubbing the back of his neck. "She and I met after that. She never mentioned you. We got married quickly, but she always seemed like she was hiding something. She was kind, brilliant, but distant." Liam's stomach tightened. And then, a year after Lily was born, Claire died in a car crash. Alexander continued, voice tight. "She never told me anything, but a few weeks ago, I found a box in the attic. Letters, photos. One had your name on it, and Lily's birth certificate didn't list a father. I didn't know what to believe, so I sent off a DNA test." Liam's legs felt unsteady. Everything inside him felt shaken loose. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" he asked, struggling to keep his voice calm. "I wasn't sure," Alexander said, his tone filled with guilt. "And I was afraid that if she's yours, I'll lose her. But now, hearing her say it to you, how she feels, it's like she already knows. Somehow, she feels it in her bones." Liam leaned against the wall, eyes closed. The storm outside rumbled again, but it was nothing compared to the storm inside them both. Two men, two broken hearts, one little girl between them, holding more truth than either of them were ready for. The envelope sat untouched on Alexander's mahogany desk for hours, its edges slightly curled from the moisture in his palms. He had held it, turned it over, read the sender's label a dozen times, but he hadn't opened it. Not yet. Outside, the city continued in motion. Honking cars, ringing phones, glowing windows. But inside that office, time had stopped. He sat in silence, the same silence that had followed him since Claire's funeral. Finally, as the sun dipped below the skyline, he tore it open. One sheet, one answer, clear and direct. Lily Ward, biological father. Liam Hayes. The words didn't surprise him. They hurt, but they didn't surprise. Somewhere deep down, he had already known. He leaned back in his chair, staring at the ceiling, as memories washed over him. First steps, lullabies, skinned knees, bedtime stories, birthday candles, all the moments that had built their life together. He had held her through nightmares, watched her fall asleep on his chest, whispered promises to protect her always. And now, another man had a rightful place in her story. After nearly 2 hours of silence, he picked up the phone and called Liam. His voice, when Liam answered, was raw. "The results came in," Alexander said. "She's yours." A pause stretched between them. Then he added, "She may be yours by blood, but I raised her. I love her more than life itself." On the other end, Liam closed his eyes, tears already sliding down his cheeks. "I never knew she existed," he whispered, "but now that I do, I want what's best for her, always." The next morning, they met at the house. No lawyers, no anger, just two men, bonded by grief, love, and something neither could quite name. Lily and Emma were drawing at the kitchen table, crayons scattered everywhere. Liam sat beside Alexander on the couch, the truth between them, heavy but no longer threatening. "She deserves to know," Liam said. Alexander nodded. "Together," he replied. They called Lily in, gently, without panic. She climbed into the space between them, cradling her teddy bear. "Sweetheart," Alexander began softly, "we need to tell you something important. Something about your mommy and about Liam." Lily looked up, sensing their seriousness. Liam's voice trembled. "Lily, I didn't know before, but I'm your biological dad." Her small face scrunched with confusion. Then came the tears, slow, quiet sobs that made both men's hearts shatter. "Does that mean I don't live here anymore?" she asked. "Does that mean I have to choose?" Alexander shook his head quickly. "No, baby, never. You're not losing anyone." Liam reached for her hand. "You're gaining something. Someone. We both love you, more than anything." Her sobs quieted, replaced by deep, shaky breaths. She looked at them both, two men whose eyes were full of pain and love. Then she did something neither expected. She reached out and pulled both of their arms around her. "I want two dads," she whispered. "I want both of you." And just like that, the tension that had haunted their hearts softened. In that living room, something new began. Liam and Alexander shared a look, not of rivalry, but of understanding. They had both lost something in life, but now they were gaining something neither imagined, a shared purpose, a second chance. Days turned into weeks, and their lives slowly blended. School runs became shared. Weekends were split, but joyful. Father-daughter dances had two proud men in suits standing at the edge of the gym. Emma and Lily grew as sisters, drawing family portraits that now had 4 smiling figures. And though the journey ahead would be untraditional and sometimes awkward, it was real. It was whole. In that messy, unexpected miracle, 2 broken fathers discovered something rare, not just love, but healing. And for the first time in years, none of them felt alone.